Aloha, this is Caron Davis of Caron Realty International, and very excited today on location in the Hamptons. How wonderful is that? And we have Mark Webb here. Welcome. And
Thank you.
he's the to-go realtor here for the summer playground for, come here for your beautiful summers. A lot of New York residents come out here, I believe you were saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
And before we, learn more about the Hamptons today, we should learn a little bit about Mark's history. And of course, you've been with Sotheby's International Real Estate in East Hampton since 2015. And of course, prior to that, you had a very successful career, senior positions at American Express, Citibank, British Airways, and Travel Zoo, where he served as the president. I wish I knew you then. I'd get good tickets. I would have used my connection. I know I love my traveling. Mark has owned and developed several properties over the past 30 years being a resident here. And Mark and I also do developments in Honolulu together. And he's an expert when it comes to the Hamptons as well. He's deep expertise in all the neighborhoods, special knowledge in the village and south of the highway locations, and just how you can enjoy a lifestyle here, which that's what we sell in luxury real estate is lifestyles.
Yes.
So on that note, let's learn more about the Hamptons.
Great. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you in East Hampton, Caron. And I think we're going to start with a quick summary of Long Island. If we can pull up the Long Island map. Long Island is about 100 miles long. It is northeast of New York City. It's divided into two counties. Nassau County is close to New York. There's about 1.5 million people. And Suffolk County, which is where we're sitting right now, is much larger. It's more rural, and there's about 1.5 million people in that side of Long Island as well.
Great. Thank you for looking at the map on that.
Sure. The area in Long Island was traditionally farming. Long Island potatoes are very famous, and add to that apples and peaches and tomatoes and every vegetable you can imagine. It's a rich agricultural area. And there are still many farms today, including a number of vineyards where some very nice wine is grown that was once served at the White House.
I know. And it's really interesting. You came home today and you'd ordered us some wine and these beautiful bottles of rosé in small, beautiful boutique looking bottles. I just love them. I'm going to bring a few bottles home, everybody.
Yes. Sounds good. So over time, the Hamptons, particularly the east end of Suffolk County, became a resort area for New York City residents in the summer. And over many, many decades, in fact, a century or a century and a half, this area developed initially with very large homes for wealthy people from New York who would make their way out on the train, even before there were automobiles, and come out and spend the summer and have a beautiful place near the ocean. There's hiking, there's tennis, golf, horseback riding, everything you can imagine. And in the last 30 or 40 years, that's become even more the case, where wealthy people from New York, particularly people who work in financial services or publishing or entertainment fields, they want to be here in the summer. They want to have a beautiful home if they can afford it and spend the whole season here. And by the way, a lot of their friends are here as well. So the social connection is very good. The restaurants are fantastic. And the beaches are world famous. I mean, I think you went for a walk on the beach this morning. How many people did you see?
Not that many. I think I saw more dogs than people. They love their dogs here too, but stunning, just miles and miles of beaches and beautiful homes on the water. I mean, how many acres of some of those beachfront homes we're seeing right now?
Pretty large, yeah. And one of the things I think that is similar here is in Hawaii, it's just public. So no one can have a private beach. If you've got a $30 million home, people can still walk on the beach in front of it because that's public, which is nice.
Exactly. No, very nice. So tell us a bit, we'll go into, the market here and, during COVID, before and after. I know a lot of, in Hawaii, our prices went through the roof with COVID. What happened here at the Hamptons?
Sure. I'd say a very similar phenomenon occurred here. This is primarily a second home market, so it can be sensitive to economic recession, where things would go a little bit soft for a little while. And before COVID, it was what we call a buyer's market because there was quite a bit of inventory. Prices were flat or soft, and there were some good buys to be had. Once COVID hit, everything changed. So the rental market was the first to explode when in approximately April of 2020, New Yorkers called up and said, I want to rent a house starting next week. I want it now. I want to get out of New York. And so all of a sudden, everyone is scrambling to find houses early because normally a rental would occur as of about the 1st of June. So that was a robust market. Rental prices went up significantly during that period. And soon after that, people said, not only do you want to rent a house, I want to buy a house. So the demand for houses went up, and as a result, prices went up quite a bit. So it's been for 18 months or more really a seller's market. Prices were very high. That has now eased.
Yeah.
Maybe similar timing to Hawaii.
Yes.
But whereas bidding wars were common in 2020 and 2021, by the end of 21, things started to calm down. And this year, they've been much more balanced between buyer and seller.
And then are you seeing many international buyers here?
Yes, increasingly. There are people, as I mentioned, it's primarily driven by Wall Street and financial city people. But we have people from LA, we have people from the entertainment world, directors, actors, producers. We also have some people from Europe. The UK is the biggest source of rental and purchase, followed by other parts of Western Europe. We haven't really seen the sort of big Russian money coming in here or Chinese buyers as yet. I think because New York City is easier to figure out.
Yeah.
You buy a big house here, there's a lot of upkeep. You know, you buy a $20 million apartment in New York, you just have to lock the door.
Sure.
But out here, it's more complicated.
And what's so amazing is how easy it is to get from, JFK.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour car ride out here. And it truly, I can see why people want to leave the city and come out here. The fresh air. I mean, it was 64 this morning, and once I got walking, I was actually warm. And if you told me that, I would have said, no, I don't know what he's talking about. But actually, it was very warm. And so is it that you were saying the sun's stronger or something out here?
Yeah, well, it's lovely, lovely fall weather. And because the ocean is all around, it has a moderating influence. So in the summer, it's much cooler here than in New York City. And in the fall and in the winter, it will stay a little bit warmer because the influence of the ocean. So
it's wonderful.
Spring and fall is a great time to visit.
Now, of course, the interest rates going up. I mean, how has that affected the market here?
Well, I think the softness in the market, or the more stability that we've seen in the last 6 months, is more due to the fact that a lot of people who were looking for homes found them and bought them.
Yeah.
And there's the frenzy is over. And also some people may be looking over the horizon and they think that a recession is coming, so they're not so sure. A lot of our buyers, especially at the upper end, are cash buyers. They don't get financing. So higher interest rates haven't affected that so much. Having said that, for people coming out from New York who are buying an initial home for half or some other more reasonable number, sure, they need to get a mortgage. And yes, when interest rates are higher, it's an issue.
How about the costs of building? I know when we were driving around the other day, we were looking at a lot of homes being built, new homes or remodels. And, how about the cost of materials and also getting building permits here?
Well, like everywhere in the country, the cost of materials has gone up quite a bit during the pandemic and the crisis, and there are supply chain issues. But I would say even in normal times, Caron, the cost to build here is higher than Hawaii. Because homes here typically have a full basement.
Yeah.
They're obviously very well insulated. There's heat and air conditioning.
Yeah.
So even in normal times, you're looking at between $600 and $1,200 a square foot to build a home here. Wow. And the bottom of that would be a more standard home without high-end finishes. If you want really high-end finishes in a home, here it can cost upwards of $1,500 a square foot to build.
Thank you. That's good to know. And I know you were nice enough to show some photos of some sales recently.
Sure. Yeah.
And we'll put those up here on the screen.
Okay, great.
I think the first house we have is on Egypt Lane, I believe.
Yes. This is a house that I represented the buyer for more than 3 years ago. It was before COVID. It was at a time when it was a buyer's market, and this buyer did extremely well to buy this beautiful home for just over $8 million. And it's on 1.2 acres in a lovely part of town. a really pretty house, and this, in retrospect, has been a tremendous investment. And it's a lovely couple who are friends of mine, and they've already realized at least a 30% appreciation in their investment.
Wonderful. And then I believe we have another sale that occurred for about $4 million.
Yes, this is north of the highway, which is generally the prices are not as high, but this is a very nice area, beautiful home on a beautifully landscaped acre, a contemporary home with a beautiful pool, as you can see. And again, right before COVID, that traded for approximately $4 million. Would also be worth more today.
And then we have one more, right?
I think we have the modern farmhouse, a shingled house. This one is right in the village of East Hampton, so the lot is much smaller. It's just under half an acre, but a brand new house with 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. Great family house, and a young family bought it about 4 years ago for about $3.8 million.
And that's also had good appreciation.
Very, very good. Yeah, it's probably a 40%.
Nice. And then one of my favorite sales you were telling me about, and we'll put that up right now, is on the beach, a small home.
Yes, this is a cottage with 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, right on Long Island Sound. Very sweet location. This is an unusual thing in the Hamptons in that it's leasehold, with a 30-year lease on the property, and that traded for just under $2 million.
Neat. And I know we were going to show some scenery shots
Good.
too.
Yes.
Sitting here, it was beautiful, but some more scenery around. And I believe the first one was on the
golf course.
Course.
There's some very wonderful golf and tennis clubs out here. One is the Maidstone Club here in East Hampton.
And what's that famous for our golfers out there?
Maidstone Club is what they call a links course. A number of the holes are along the ocean. It's a spectacular setting. And which reminds me about Shinnecock Country Club in Southampton, which we drove by yesterday. The U.S. Open is played there once every 10 years. It's a golfer's dream. This shot here is in the fall with a beautiful sky right next to the Maidstone Club.
Nice. Another home, which is on an acre and a half, I
This
believe.
is a home on an acre and a half right here in the village, not right down the street from the Maidstone Club, which reminds me, for your viewers, the rental market here in the summer is excellent from the standpoint of an owner. In that when I tell people what tenants pay here for a small house, a medium house, a big house for the summer season, most people are surprised at how high it is. So we have some people who buy houses here, use them in the off season, rent them for the full summer, and the entire cost of that ownership is covered easily in that period, and then they enjoy it in the off season.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. It's wonderful. And then, of course, you can rent your houses for 30 days minimum. What's the minimum for the Hamptons?
The laws, each town is different, but to be safe, it's usually a 30-day minimum.
30-day minimum. Great.
Which is fine, because when people come out, they want to stay that long.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then to end our day, we're seeing the fall colors right now. The colors of the trees changing right now. And I believe we've got a photo that we'll put up now. Yep. And I'm so thankful that's happening, because it's a little early, right?
It is
Usually
early,
it's October, yeah.
It is early, yes.
Well, we have a lot of fun things to do today.
Yes, we do.
So on that note, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Caron.
It's wonderful. And aloha, and I'll be home in a few days. See you then. But here we're going off to experience more of the Hamptons.
Great.
Aloha.